there's more stuff coming up all the time. They say in the psychology end of it that if you start using at 14 and you don't quit until you're 30, you're a 30-year-old body with a 14-year-old mentality.
Whoa,
So to grow up emotionally and mentally takes time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode on Coffee with Kuda. I am excited to bring back here Ken, who is going to be talking to us about where we're going to touch back from where we left off last time, and then we're going to continue talking about how his life in recovery is going right now. Today, Ken, I'm excited to bring you back. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Excellent. I know the kind of stories we're going to hear today are quite incredible. We'll touch back a little bit on how you relapsed you're almost 6 years clean when your stepmom passed away, your partner passed away, and one of your good friends passed away within 3 months. I know you used to be in the life of crime as well. I hope you can tell the people about your story that you robbed someone and then you went back to sell stuff to them. It's just interesting stories that you put it this way, that you found out that people were being killed in that house.
Yeah.
So you could have easily been one of those.
Yeah.
So that's why I find that story more powerful to tell, not necessarily because of what you did, but the consequences that could have been with it. Of course, I know you're doing great today. You're back to work.
Yeah.
You're almost 9 years clean.
Yeah, November.
November, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to ask, because I know we caught up a little bit, and one of the things we're talking was about how BC is considering to decriminalize possession of harder substances.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear your input on that.
You see, the only people that are ending up with the charges are the addicts, and and low-level dealers who are only dealing because they have most of them have a habit to support, and they're the ones getting a criminal record because of that. And like we were talking before. If a youth gets involved with gangs and addiction and gets caught with substances, they get a record. And they may get out of that lifestyle at 20 or in their early 20s or whatever, and go on to be a productive member of society. But their choices and what fields they want to work are going to be limited because of that. Conviction because of those charges.
How you're putting it is great, because you said most youths were getting caught with these between, let's say, 15, 16 to maybe early 20s, but these people don't quite understand what their 30s are going to be like.
Yeah. It's like there's so much more in life. It's like, it's like they get clean anybody gets clean in their 20s. Well, they still gonna have to work in a job, in a workforce, until they're 55, 60, hopefully.
Yes.
And that's a long time to be in a really low-paying job. The charges they pick up in addiction,
they take away the opportunities.
Take away opportunities, of successful, productive years.
These youths, they really don't understand what the future is like.
No.
They don't understand that if you're going to be working for a big tech company, if you're going to be working in a hospital, these criminal charges, they follow you everywhere you go.
Yeah. And unfortunately, addicts are only doing it out of desperation without any without any conscious awareness of what the long-term effects are going to be for those crimes of desperation.
So the plan is to protect their future.
Yeah.
While we find ways
That's
to
what it
help
would
them.
do, because it's charging people with simple possession or simple small amount of trafficking. It's not stopping.
Right,
History has
right,
shown it doesn't stop the issue of drugs in our society. And someone else is just going to come along. The people that are
Of course.
facilitating the business, they're not at that level. They're not the ones getting arrested. It's the young, it's the youth, it's the addict that's doing it out of desperation, and he's the one paying the consequences for a lifetime.
The reason why we are talking about this is because you were one of those people. As a youth, you got arrested.
Yeah.
At 16?
No, at 13.
At 13.
13. First offense as a juvenile, I got 2 years in maximum security.
Wow.
And the only reason it was 2 years because in Alberta it was 16, you're an adult, so at 16 they had to release you.
Wow.
And that was first offense as a juvenile.
When they go in jail at that young age, all they're doing is learning how to be a better criminal when they come out.
Yeah. When you're locked up, it's everyone's had puffy chests, and it's almost the same style in society. You got your top feeders, you got your middle feeders, you got your bottom feeders. Well, jail's the same way.
Yeah.
You have your people that control stuff and make things happen, and then you have the middle group that just kind of coasts through, and then you have people that are naive, and they're the ones that are learning how to be a better criminal, a better.
Did you come out a better person or a better criminal?
No, better criminal. Even though I got caught again, but it was I was still angry at my family. I was still angry at the system. It was like I was just a kid at 13, and yeah, I did something illegal, but I never once thought about it that it would have that big of an impact in my life.
Even if you think about it, at 13 you can't comprehend.
No.
You can be told, but you still can't comprehend.
No, you have no concept of a lifelong consequence.
And another thing you spoke about was how could a young Ken could have prevented this path? So one of those is maybe this path could have been different, but then we spoke about how your parents could have helped you.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my situation, my family of origin was dysfunctional because there was addiction. So it was living in poverty.
Right.
So you see an opportunity to make, fast cash,
Correct.
as we call it. You go for it because it's like, other kids get nice clothes. You get to an age where you can drive. You get a car.
Yes.
A kid living in addiction, in poverty, in their family of origin, the money goes to that. In my family, my father was a drinker, so the money went to the drinking instead of
preparing for your future.
Yeah. Wow. That was 40 years ago, 45 years ago. In today's society, I see the same thing happening, not just with addiction, but two working parents.
Yes.
They might not even have addiction. They just have to work, both parents, to pay for a house, especially in the Vancouver area. So that guidance, that awareness of what the children are up to, it doesn't even have to be addiction. Just having to work, they're not there.
Okay, so that's the youth opportunity that would have prevented you from not going down that road. But of course, the inability from the father and the mother. But I know that your dad remarried.
Yeah.
So you had a stepmom.
Yeah.
You and your stepmom, what's the relationship like?
It was really good. Like I was a mama's boy, so my brothers and my father, they were like, "Oh, Kenny can't do no wrong in her eyes,"
Correct.
you know, because
Okay.
I was her favorite. So,
I like that.
and of course, being a kid and not aware of what's really going on, I played that. I played that card.
There's a powerful story about your stepmom that I can't wait to get into because I know she ends up passing away,
Yeah, she
right?
passed from cancer.
From
Yeah.
cancer, yeah. So I think I want to talk about that in a few minutes because she appears to find that understanding in your own issues, right? But before we do go into that, I want to talk about the young Ken a little bit some more. I always want to kind of educate the youth on the dangers that are associated with the streets. There's a story that you told me about how you found out, whoa, these guys could have killed me.
Well, yeah, it's me and another guy. We went and did a score. We call them scores.
Okay, and the score is
We
to,
did a score and got a bunch of stuff and sold it. And then I ended up going to this shack, a drug house, and they suspected I was the one that did a score on one of the guys that was there, and you know, for about an hour plus, I was getting beat up, and you know, quite hard, and I kept saying, you know, like you got to be crazy. Why would I do that and come here? And but the reality is I did, and the only reason I went there was because they had good stuff, and I knew I could get it there.
did you suspect that guy you robbed earlier would be there?
Yeah, but I didn't think that they would be that aware that
Violent.
maybe I had done it.
Right.
So, but just for the desperation for the drug, I still went there.
But then you found out something, and
Yeah.
then that made you realize how dangerous that was.
Well, a few months later, the person that had the house and well, a girl that hang around there got arrested because they had these big hooks on the ceiling in the living room, and they had tied people up and killed them in there and disposed of them in the freezer. And they were both convicted and sentenced
Wow.
for murder.
Had you not convinced them?
Yeah. So after being let go, you know, it was just the reality of this could have been real bad.
Okay, so we are learning about the dangers that come with desperation of this life. What do you take out of that? Do you realize, wow, I was lucky?
It slowed me down for a little while. Got into recovery, got a little bit of clean time, then relapsed again.
Yeah. I wanted to also touch on now as we continue moving on in your life because most of the most details are in part one of the interview. But now in this part here, I want to also touch on a very important part that Ken was almost 6 years clean. Tell me about the road to relapsing.
Well, when my stepmom was dying of cancer,
Okay.
I got the call that she was, you know, it was going to happen imminently, and so I raced out to Abbotsford, and you know, I walked in. She didn't do pain meds, like I said, until the very end, and I walked in, and she was high as a kite, and I said, Margie, like, look at you, you're high as a kite, and she had this big smile on her face, and she said, you know, like, I finally understand why you struggled with this, and then passed away. And I didn't realize at that very second how profound that was. You know, that was probably the most loving thing she could have ever said to me.
Wow.
That that acceptance and understanding.
So now she's in understanding of, wow, this is what my son had to go through.
Yeah. After that, 30 days later, around that same time, my partner of 5 years had relapsed, and within 30 days, she had died from her addiction also. So that was the second death, and I think that was about the time that, even though I was almost 6 years sober, I needed to hook up with a grief counselor. And I had started going to grief counseling, but we hadn't done a whole bunch of work together, so I was still in trouble.
And then what happened?
And then 30 days after her, a guy that I had known for a long time, 10 years sober, and he worked in one of the places that I worked at, he committed suicide. I just got out of town, got a hotel room in Kamloops. I remember I just wanted to get away from everything. And I went to like 2 or 3 meetings a day while in Kamloops, and then I came back, and the day I came back I went to 2 meetings, and it was the next day after that I picked up. I didn't have the skills to deal with that much grief.
That tells us the need for constantly getting help.
Yeah.
Because you said recovery is not a destination.
Yeah. Well, it was like the first time I spent a long time in and out. You almost pick up a habit, like an addiction of jail, the street, recovery house, jail, and you get into that cycle, and I could never get substantial clean time. So it was like the first time I got a year clean, it was like I've arrived.
Okay.
But needless to say, I got loaded again, because there is no arriving. There was getting clean isn't what recovery's about. I had to learn that recovery is about healing and reconnecting with society, and that took a lot, because there was underlying. I had to learn how to handle grief. This time around, in my 8 years, I've had quite a number of people that I've known have passed.
Wow.
And it doesn't have the same effect on me, because I have different tools on how to deal with it.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's really important. I want that to lead to a study was done, and 4 out of 5 women and 3 out of 5 men go through sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And then you said there's a huge need to learn to come out and seek help regarding that, because that's the hardest to
because
open
it's
up
like
about.
an addict just think it's because of the drugs, or whatever substance you happen to be using, and then you get clean and you're still in trouble. Correct. Mentally, and underlying issues, whether it's exposure to lots of violence, sexual abuse. The numbers are astronomical.
Right.
And you get clean, and you still have these doubts, because it injures the person. And like when I first started getting clean, I wasn't aware or mature enough to go, well, these are the issues, so why? It was because I thought I liked it.
Okay.
I like getting high. But the reality is I like getting high because it eliminated having to face feelings and the memories, or, all that other stuff. So it takes a long time it took me a long time in recovery to understand that it wasn't about getting clean, it was about I need to heal from traumatic stuff that I experienced. They say in the psychology end of it that if you start using at 14 and you don't quit until you're 30, you're a 30-year-old body with a 14-year-old mentality.
Whoa, yeah.
So to grow up emotionally and mentally, takes time. And so I didn't get really, this time I didn't get clean till I was 50. So here I am, a 19-year-old stuck in a 50-year-old body. Well, like through my help with my therapist, I got an understanding, and the best way to describe it, as I said earlier, was Andy Griffin show.
Andy Griffin show,
when they're
sorry,
walking
yes.
down the road with the fishing pole. That's all I wanted of my dad, is to have that kind of dad.
Yes.
And I had to learn that my expectations were that, but the reality was is he's a man that doesn't have any skills and has his own addiction issues. So once I took responsibility for what my expectations of him was, we started down that road, so we could develop a relationship, and it took time. It took a few years, but he's a close friend today. I phone him up, on a regular basis and talk about stuff. And that's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted was to have that relationship. It was unfair of me to expect him to be Andy Griffin. Because he's not Andy, his name's Fred. And he has issues. And his issues not necessarily were caused by addiction on his parents. His parents, his dad was drafted in the Nazi army and forced to go into war. And his mother took 10 children and brought him to Canada. There was no father figure for him. So it was easy to understand why he was the way he was. And I'd rather have compassion for him than anger or hatred.
It builds your relationships around you and makes them stronger.
And there's a ripple effect, because it's like I have children of my own. So I can show up a little bit more caring and interested in their lives.
You taught me the importance of desire to be sober, fighting those underlying issues as a point to help you stay sober. It's not necessarily anything that the world offers you, it's about really what's deep down.
Well, yeah, and how I perceive it. Like that issue with my father, and he never stopped drinking, he never changed, and never got any skills, parenting skills, but yet we have that relationship now.
Right.
And it's only because owning my part or understanding my part was I had this unrealistic expectation. So take ownership from that, and it, like I said, it has a ripple effect.
I remember I was asking you about, is it mostly people coming from low-income families or not? And then you told me, even those who are coming from wealthy families.
Yeah.
Do you want to share that story?
Well, yeah, there's a couple that come to mind. It's I was working in the recovery industry, and this young guy came in, and his parents owned a large portion of a well-known firm, distillery firm, and they had oodles of money, and they had set up trust funds for him. And the first phase of the trust fund was if he got a year clean, he got $1 million. And then if he got multiple years, he had access to $10 million. And that was only a part of what his trust was. So I don't even know what the end numbers were, but there's 11 mil on the table. And he ended up dying from heroin overdose. He couldn't get clean. And another one that I remember is a young guy. He got drafted by the Whitecaps, and he was playing in their youth leagues, and they had paid him like $70,000 a year to play in a youth league. So he was a great prospect. If a kid's making that kind of money playing soccer, you might go places. And he developed a heroin addiction also, and had to leave the organized sports
Wow.
because he couldn't get clean.
We try to keep kids in sports as long as possible to stay away from trouble. But that's just a small part of it.
Sure, it's like we were talking before we started taping. It's about recovery is about reconnecting to people. You know, who knows what the issues may be?
Exactly.
You know, they vary all the time.
Exactly.
But if you know, if a soccer coach is empathetic and understanding and aware, you know, if there's the kid can talk to the coach about outside issues. Yes, then they can get guidance towards getting help in those issues. Encouraged to talk about it because it's the addiction is a disconnect. We don't talk to people about what's really going on.
Correct, yes.
I had one client in that recovery. He was one of the top surgeons in California, open heart surgeons. And he was going from one floor to another in the stairwell, and he tripped, and he hurt himself. So he self-prescribed some pain meds, and that got out of hand to the point where he lost his accreditation at the hospital. And when I met him, he had migrated to Vancouver, and he was on the street, homeless and a heroin addict. And yet, less than 10 years earlier, he was one of the top 3 open heart surgeons in California. And that just happened by getting injured in a stairwell.
Let's touch on harm reduction a little bit. If you can tell me the importance of harm reduction.
I used to tell people Superman changed in a phone booth.
Okay.
You know, so it's not really the environment. You know, people that go to a $50,000 a month treatment facility have the same success rate as a welfare grade treatment center. The success rate in staying clean is about the same.
Wow.
So anything that would help somebody traverse from a homeless, or because most addicts end up homeless, traverse from that addicted lifestyle into a productive lifestyle.
Yes.
You know, if you got to nurse them along, you know, I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah,
there's so many different forms of it nowadays. You got the methadone, Suboxone, Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, when there's a chapter in the big book that talks about if you're going to talk with a new prospect, you know, it's like alcohol's one of the hardest things physically to get off of. So that they talk about it in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that it's okay to bring them a drink while you're talking to them, because it's kind of like being a car salesman. Anything to get them in the driver's seat, eh? It's like
boom.
You know, so harm reduction, you know, it gets a person in and they get a better quality of life. And hopefully they want more.
And as we move now towards the end, one of the most important things you spoke to me about was the wait lists in a treatment center. Or let's just touch on that a little bit before.
That's probably the saddest thing in British Columbia here. Anyways, it's I see it all the time that people ask for help, but you got to wait 3 weeks to get into a detox, or you got to wait, you know, like I think the waiting list for Phoenix, which is one of the more successful places, I think it's like 2 months or 3 months in order to get a bed there. And that window of opportunity where they want help is short-lived. It's like today. You know, if you don't have a bed for that person that wants help today, he's going to go out and use. And who knows, he might have a lucky score and get lots of whatever substance, and you might not ever see that window of opportunity again. And unfortunately, the on-demand recovery beds are not a thing that BCA sees as a priority.
Wow, I am grateful for your insight on that, because you're speaking from experience.
Yeah.
You're speaking from seeing people who are experiencing it, and it's an ongoing issue. Before we let you go, how's Ken these days?
I'm pretty good. I'm blessed. It's like there's a new chapter every time you turn around, kind of thing. So it's my latest grandchild was born yesterday, so that's number 3. So I never thought I'd be alive long enough to be involved in grandchildren, and so that's kind of cool. And
And
a buddy of mine just had his first baby girl a couple days ago, and you know, to see people that were homeless on the street and now own homes and are having children, it's like that's the coolest thing ever.
It's a joy to watch.
Yeah, you know, to see my buddy who was the worst of the worst, you know, to have a successful life and to be holding his first child. It was just the look in his eyes. You didn't even have to say anything. You could just see it in his eyes. And
there's a hashtag that says "We do recover." I like that, right? Because it's like, don't give up.
like I phone my dad every once in a while, and just like, you got to pinch me, because I don't even, you know, the life I live today is way beyond anything I could have ever imagined.
And I know you said your mom as well, she's 20 years clean, you said.
20, my birth mother, she's 26 years. So,
wow. So she encourages you as well?
Yeah, I have a relationship with her. I didn't talk to her for 20 years. So, you know, I reestablished a relationship with her, and, you know, that's a blessing. And
these discussions, they are not for nothing.
No. If it helps one youth not going down this road, then it's worthwhile. That's what, in recovery, that's kind of what we all do. It's like, if we can save one person from experiencing life the way we did, then it's worthwhile.
Your stories, they need to be heard. Youth needs to hear your story. People in addiction, they need to hear your stories.
Well, I think the most important thing is nobody's alone.
Yeah.
You know, there's always somebody out there that has experienced what you've experienced and can relate. So it's like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. And it's like, thing with recovery is, it's like, I was telling you that story about watching somebody I know go through the early stage of recovery, and it's like you want to cheer them on like retarded seals on the side of the road. It's like, come on, because they're going to get to the next stage.
Correct.
And who knows what can happen. People have amazing lives because of recovery.
Correct. Keep up the good work. I really hope we do sit down one more time. It's honestly amazing sharing the stage with you. Good seeing you again, Ken.
Good seeing you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Cheers. Hey everyone, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I do really appreciate it. If you can, please subscribe to our channel for more content. If you can, please join our Patreon team. The link is down below. And also, you can join our GoFundMe. The link is also involved below. This will help us to bring awareness of addiction as well as destigmatize this illness. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we'll create more content for you. Thank you so much.